Hey everybody, welcome to the Jen Lowry Wright Show. Today I want to talk about something that I'm right smack in the middle of, and that is chapter 1 through 3, the hooks, the lines. Are they sinking this ship, or am I able to pull off what I'm hoping to do, which is to engage a reader right away and get them so involved in the story and the character that they don't want to quit? And so I thought we could have a great discussion about that and just go through what we like about books and what is it that stands out to us with these hooks, and what's the difference between a hook and an inciting incident. I think that just learning that kind of vocabulary that's out there in the author world can just help you not only with your research. When you're out there looking up author craft, you will know the words to Google and the videos to watch, but it's going to give you a better sense of place and story structure and where you're currently writing at. And we can always grow. We can always have room to grow. And so if we get some people here today live, I was hoping that we could share like favorite first lines. We could also talk about the first lines in our current project. I think that that would be cool. And we could just post them in the comments and look at just the first line only, and only really talk and hone in on those first chapters. I also want to share with you guys a resource. You guys know I love to do that. It's a part of my teaching, just nurturing spirit, I guess, because I want to learn things and then I want to share them all out with you. So I want to share something that I think could be maybe beneficial for you when you're working on your story. Oh, good. Go, Anne. So, Anne, I wanted to share with everybody the Readsy, and give you a copy of it. I'm going to give you a copy of it in the link, but I'm going to force, see, instead of it to say edit at the end, you take that off and you say copy, because it forces somebody to make a copy of a Google Doc. I'm going to give the link here in the stream so you can have this resource. I think that I have already given it to the WWJs. So if I haven't, you can have this too if you might find it to be very beneficial. But it sets your story structure up into 3 acts. And we're going to talk about Act 1 today, especially Chapter 1. So my goal is to write a chapter a day. And today has not been the best days for me. So I've had rounds of migraine medication. I had to lay down. And then when I went to sleep, I had to lay back down this morning, which I don't normally take like a 9:30, 10 o'clock nap. But I was feeling so bad that I had to. And I had a nightmare when I was asleep. And so I kind of woke up a little grumpy a little bit. And I'm still, I know you probably can tell, just really exhausted today. Today, I stayed up late watching The Mentalist. We were getting into some really good Red John serial killer, because that Mentalist is about serial killer and a cult. And that's my 2 favorite things all matched all together. So favorite things to study, not that just sounds so weird when I say some things. If you guys know me, like yesterday, I was talking about my friends at work. They are also like me and they watch serial killer stuff. They're like, you know serial killers? I was like, no, that's not what I meant. So maybe it's just I'm tired. I don't know. But I'm here and I'm working and I'm sharing a Readsy document. So you guys, you can get this document. You need to sign up to receive the Readsy material anyway. I love me some Readsy. Go to readsy.com and you will not believe all of the awesomeness that you can get. So I've got the website already pulled up. I'm going to share my screen because if you've never been to Readsy or heard about it, now is the day you did. So, of course, you can log in as free. They have all kinds of really cool free courses. I would highly suggest that you take them. If you have questions about what is a target reader for your work, look at all of these different things. How to build an author blog, which we all need. Like I'm going down, oh look, how to write romance, love, how to write YA that sells. I've done the how to write the middle grade. Like it's for basics too. Like if you just want a deeper understanding, for example, about point of view, you can do a lot of these refreshers too. I'm just scrolling all the way down so you can see there's tons of different Readsy learning opportunities for you guys, and they are free. This right here, how to plot a novel using a 3-act story structure. This might be something that you might find beneficial. And there are tons of blog articles by authors that share this 3-plot story structure. So that could be something that could be a benefit from you too. Now that you kind of know the 3-act story, I said 3-plot, 3-act story structure. Now you know how you could kind of go off and investigate it yourself. Look, writing dialogue that develops plot and character. How to craft a killer short story if you're working on that now. I mean, look at all of them. I can't get off this page. Just because it's fun to see all of the free things that I can do. How to stop talking about writing a book and actually start doing it. Yes, right. Open up a blank page. Get started. Do it now. I challenge you. And so I'm having fun just seeing what I need to view. And then the courses are free. They come straight to your inbox. Really cool. And then I wanted to share with you guys the 3-act structure template. They send you this for free, and you can sit and type right in here. And this is something from Readsy. I have not edited it at all. But what is so cool is when it comes to you, you can hit make a copy, because you'll see a bunch of anonymous narwhals and all kinds of anonymous animals up here because people will be on it. That's what happened to me when I got it. You just quickly make a copy and you name it whatever you name it. And then you can start actually typing in here if you like a place to organize yourself and keep your notes. And so even though I'm not necessarily using this in that way, it's still really good to see this outline. And it can help you if you need a tool that can help better prepare yourself before walking into your next chapters. So I'm in the middle of Act 1 right now because I just started. My goal is to write 1 chapter a day. I wrote half of that chapter today. I went back to chapter 1 and did some editing. So I'm doing what, kind of like what Kate DiCamillo, her tactic is when her process. So she will wake up in the morning, she will write 2 pages. And that's it. She's doing 2 pages a day. And she has this very strict regimen about that. Now with her 2 pages, then she'll go and she'll journal some things. And then at night she'll read, or whenever she'll read some things. And then she'll go back the next day, she'll pick up where she left off, and she'll write 2 more pages. Now I want to do the whole, I'm going to write a chapter a day. And so I've started, and even though my mood isn't 100% the best, I know that I still have that goal. And my husband was like, okay, if you're feeling this way, just kind of step away a little bit, just kind of relax your mind. And I'm like, I do get to do that because I get to stream with everybody. And this is kind of like my place. It's also a great brainstorming place for me. And so this is kind of like my relaxed time. I've got my candle lit. I've got my little area. And so thanks for putting up with me, guys. So yeah, Act 1, I got half of chapter 2 done today. Yeah, Hey, Tish. I've got half of chapter 2 done, and I had to put it away because my head was still pounding a little bit. And I was like, okay, I'll come back to this stuff later. And so I also got me a new beta reader today. So I want to talk with you guys about tons of stuff. How can you hook someone in? Well, you need to, one, find someone that reads heavily in your genre, that knows your genre inside and out. And also, if you can find an expert in the field, that would be absolutely amazing, because that means if you get them to be your beta reader, then they can help you right away and say, no, this is not reliable. No, you are not using the right language here. The vocabulary is so different when you're talking this on the street in comparison to this, inside the church or whatever it is that you are writing. Finding someone that you can say, look, I've got this panel of people and they're readers of the genre. You might just pick a random person who doesn't read in the genre and you just want to get any kind of feedback that you can get. And then if you have an expert there, that's even better. And so that's what I did today. I reached out to an expert and they're like, oh, I'll start reading tonight. And so I had to make it clear, what do I want you to tell me? And so I gave them 2 questions. Okay, the first one was, are you hooked in chapter 1? And number 2, did I give you enough about my character for you to care about my character? That's all I asked this expert. They're just reading chapter 1. I don't have chapter 2 done yet. It's about to see how I'm starting this thing off. Am I setting this stage up for somebody to either yawn and sit and stretch and look at their watch and say, okay, time to clock out? Or is it a lean in? I need to know that my book starts in with the lean in. And you guys know what I mean by that. Something gets really good, you kind of change your posture a little bit. You might even become relaxed a little bit more. You become more comfortable because wait, I'm going to stick with this book for a while. So you kind of position yourself down deep in the covers. Hey, I'm telling you guys, that stuff, that mess matters to me. It matters. And it matters to readers. I know it matters, because I am a prolific reader. I wanted to talk about that today too, because if you're not reading within the genre that you're writing, I really think you're missing out. And you need to have books there for you, and you need to decide, am I reading for pleasure right now, or am I going to put on this author lens? And so you've got to make your determination. And I know it's not as cut and dry as that, because I make it sound like it's these polar things. However, for my brain, it works better if I understand that I'm reading for this investigation within the genre, because I can cut myself off from it. I am actually looking for things. I am looking for the inciting incident. I'm actually looking at character development. I'm not just reading it and kind of like when you're reading, you're kind of just skim through. I'm actually trying my best to analyze it, to break it down, to try to discover, wait, is this a foreshadowing technique here? Is this something that matters later? Is this going to be carried out? Is this a little pinpoint piece of the plot that is starting to surface here? And so I make my determination to read like that when I'm actually writing in that genre. So that's what I started doing yesterday. Now, I'm going to tell you my techniques for this kind of stuff, because maybe it can help you as an author when you're investigating and researching books. So I'm doing my 1 chapter a day. You can try that tactic if you want. So I'm going to try to write 1,500 to 2,500 words a day. I think that is completely doable for me. I understand that this is just my first round. I need to get my story out. This doesn't mean that word count is going to stick. It's just my first draft. I can extend a book all day long, but I need to get the book done. And it's not the perfect book that I'm working to do. It's the done book. that I'm working to do, okay? Because I understand the value and the rounds of edits that I do. And so I have a lot of pressure taken off of me. One, I have that perfectionist kind of weight completely off my shoulders because I know writing is a process. I teach that in high school. You guys know I'm a teacher. I'll have kids every day of the week, and they'll say, I hate to brainstorm. I hate doing this brainstorming piece. I just want to write. I hate going through this. Why? Why can't you just accept it and give me 100? Isn't it perfect? This is the best I can do. And then when we start breaking down their work and then we start saying, okay, is this argument as strong as it could be? And I start giving them examples. They go, oh, I see how I can make that better. It's the same with my own writing. You can't write a novel, unless you're just this superhero, perfect novelist, and expect that it all come out right the first time. However, you know that editing is a part of the process, and you're going to stick to it longer. You're going to say, okay, I'm just going to get through this. I'm going to get through this round. This is like my UFC fights, guys. This is round 1. I'm in it. I've got some great strength and conditioning. I am in this thing. So I want to encourage you that when you start, do not continue to second guess yourself. You got plenty of time to do that later. Just write the thing. Write the thing. Get it out. Then, if you want to try my technique like I'm doing, a chapter, today I started back at chapter 1 because I went back just to that last one because, I'm on 2. So it's not like I'm going to start back over to the beginning. I'm not going to do that tomorrow. I'm only going to go to chapter 2 tomorrow. But I read it straight through and I started typing right away. And it started off with a letter. And that's the way I want to start off this book. I want it to have chapters that have letters and case files and anecdotal notes. Each chapter can have something different, the way that it starts off, that can be a way to introduce the reader into this development of the story. And so that's the style that I'm going to go with this. I haven't seen it done in the crime books that I've started to investigate. However, that's the way I want to do it. And that's me. I'm going to stick and honor that page. However, I'm also going to research. So I told you guys yesterday I have the Libby app. So the Libby app is our library app. You take your library card and you put it in there. Oh, good. Go, Ann. So I put in, female detectives because that's what I need to look at. I am writing a female detective, and I can reveal her name to you guys today because my Aunt Dot messaged me. Let me go. At 9:30 last night, the first name that popped was Heather. I do like the storyline. Doesn't it scare you to write it? Good question. Also, I think the cover with the tree alone is best. Keep writing, my girl. Love you. And so that was what I got after chapter 1 from my sweet elder aunt who helps me tremendously. She is my first beta reader, and we have now got Heather, who is our main character. And she has the name that people actually take her initials and make a joke about her name. They nickname her in the unit. And it's going to be like a religious nickname. But they're going to take her initials, HR, and name her something, behind her back. But she ends up not caring. So that's it. That's her name. Hooray, hooray. So then I started asking people, give me some recommendations. And Dee Henderson came up last night, my narrator. She gave me this name. She writes The Negotiator. It's a series. It's not just about the negotiator, but she has a whole series Yes, Anne. You got it. HR. Yep. I've already written it in. Is it that obvious? Good, Anne. You get a point today. I'm going to give Anne 3 points. 3 points for Anne. Yes, me too. See, we're both that way. One, do you like it? Do you think it's catchy? They call her that behind her back. Yeah. She thinks they're talking about HR. And then just her initials. Because they'll call each other a lot by their last names. We do that at work, so I'm sure. Anyway, I think it's funny. Maybe. I don't know. It could be completely corny, but I'm going with it. So I got that one, Dee Henderson's book, and I loved her style. I'm like, thank you, Anne, for recommending, my narrator, Anne, for recommending that one on Twitter. And it was on KU. So she's USA Today and a New York Times bestseller author. So I absolutely thought it was just so cool how she started that book off. So you guys, if you've got Kindle Unlimited and you like this genre and you like reading detective stories, this one is a Christian mystery. I'm going to go and I'm going to pull it up because I want to give you the exact categories. Anyway, my goal is to read 3 chapters. The Negotiator, O'Malley, Book 1. It is religious romance, Christian mystery, and suspense, and inspirational religious fiction. And it's a bestseller, and it's been out since 2010. Tyndall House Publishers is who is her publishing company, which is a huge Christian publishing company. And so FBI agent Dave Rickman from Danger in the Shadows is back. He's about to meet Kate O'Malley, and his life will never be the same. She's a hostage negotiator. He protects people. He's about to find out that falling in love with a hostage negotiator is one thing, but keeping her safe is another. Ha ha. Doesn't that sound so cool? Yeah, that Bard list, that's cool. When you emailed me that, I went back and I found another one of her books that was on Kindle Unlimited, and I grabbed it because I like her writing style. She's very direct, to the point. I love that. I love that kind of writing. And it got me like right away. I could visualize everything, her sitting at her desk with her feet propped up, going out for breakfast to eat with her family. I love the strong family conversations. There's not a lot of that kind of crazy tension, kind of drama mess. I don't like that necessarily. I like to see strong relationships with side characters. So I got that right away. And it told a lot about her with her interaction with the brother, the side character. So I was like, okay, I really love how she's done this. I love how she then started into the action. So I'm not going to give it all away, but I'm going to tell you, I was hooked. Like right away, I was hooked into that book. And so what is it about books that make you, go in full force? What is it about it? For me, it's the character. It's got to be the character for me because... And I think that's with most readers. They're not reading it for the scene. They're not reading it because you like to use the best flowery language in the world. They're not. They're reading it because you've introduced them to somebody that's actually likable, that you actually say, oh, wow, you can relate somehow to this person, or that you can believe that this person needs you to stay with them. Now, they had a prologue, and now I have been researching thrillers and suspense elements, and some people say don't use the prologue, and a lot of people still do it, but maybe we should drop it. Maybe you should just go into chapter 1, and they're chapter 1, but it's really the prologue. I'm like, you know what, you ain't got to be that way. Just what I have learned is there now there is wrong ways to do things, because if you don't hook your reader in, you did something wrong. You didn't get them enticed enough to stay. So I'm not saying that there's not a wrong way to do it. But sometimes when you're reading the advice, you just have to understand what it is. You have to just push through it. So I want to read the first line. And I do not feel like I'm going against any kind of copyright, because I want to teach you guys something that you might not know. So when you go to Amazon, you can see when I borrowed it. Okay. Do you see the look inside? When you click into the books, this is the prologue. Here, chapter 1. Kate O'Malley had been in the dungeon since dawn. And then you're like, a dungeon? Is she in trouble? But that's what they call the basement of their office, of where the SWAT and hostage rescue teams kind of stay. They have been moved down into the basement, which is funny because like my husband kind of works in kind of like a little bunker type basement thing. But it tells you right away kind of how it looks in there, how it smells in there. But you know what? They did not care, because they did not have to worry about people breathing down their necks. They had relaxed rules down there. So that also lets you know that they have this strong kind of sense of camaraderie down there too. And maybe they'll joke around a little bit more. Maybe they'll be, more relaxed in who they are, because they don't have like the top dogs staring down at them through those glass windows or whatever. And so the dirt on her tennis shoes, that lets you know she's not one of these fashionista people. And I'm like, okay, she doesn't mind getting dirty on the scene. She's out there working it. And then she's reliving all of that, talks about how much she hates listening about domestic violence. There's something going on about unwanted memories for her. So, she's got some secrets. So I'm not, you can go through and read it. Shows if she's fourth review, that means that she's not giving up. She's trying to find something to improve herself. She's reflecting. What could she have done before shots rang out? And then you get straight into dialogue. And they go for coffee. And this is the part I like too. So it talks about she's a creature of habit, which every time I go to a diner or anywhere, if I've already ate there, I'll usually get the same thing. She talked about her brother in there you go. And they were from the orphanage. And I'm not going to keep going, but you can see. So I've made it to where I wanted to stop for today. I'm going to read these books into chunks. So I'm going to talk with you guys about that. I don't know if you found that structure, the way that she set up that first chapter, and it continues, it gives you just the whole description right away in just a couple of paragraphs. It does not go into 8 pages of how the office dynamics work. I mean, you have to fill in these gaps as a reader. You don't need the author to tell you everything. That was alone enough to say what I needed for that unit. Okay. And so that's where I think we can worry about giving so much that then our pacing gets off. And then that's where it can start to possibly lag. So make sure that when you're starting, that you can, give your build up, give your background, but you don't have to go so in depth. You get a lot done with dialogue and talk about your characters with dialogue more than you could with description. It punches more. It gives more power. So if you're thinking about a video game right now, which one do you want? Do you want the weakling going up against the boss? Think about it. No, you want the shield and you want full stream power to go up against that boss, or you're going to have to replay. So the same thing with the writing. Imagine that the reader is that boss, and you have got to get them to the point where you're in control of that story. You have to get it and nail it down, so that way you can go to that next level, that you can go to that next chapter together, and that person is willing to stick around for you. And so I think it's important for me to beta this out early, especially because I've never written a detective story. So, of course, I have police officers that are going to be reading this book. Is that necessary? To me, it is. I think it's necessary. That's just a part of my beta commitment. Like, I want to do my due diligence on this work. Okay, so if you're in that 3/4 of the way done, if you're like 3/4, and you're like coming down, you're going to start coming down. If you look at the 3-act structure template, oh gosh. You're 3/4, you're probably close to the final challenge. Or they are overcoming whatever it is that's holding them back. So I'm just looking at this, if it kind of follows that standard structure. So I've got not only Dee Henderson's work, but I'm going to tell you guys, last night I started this stuff. I went to the Libby app. My son had to help me add, I had to figure out how to move from the kids into juvenile, because I've been reading juvenile fiction forever. I've been using middle grades forever because I've been writing in the middle grades. So that's what I've been reading. Oh, good, Anne. So here's what I found. I'm going to read all these titles. Not only did they come recommended, they're on strong lists, okay, because I look at that. So I got Dead of Winter. I've got Out of Time, Set You Free, and A Deadly Affection. So I have got 4 fiction books that are suspense, thriller type books, and I'm only going to read the first chapter, and if I'm hooked in, I may continue on to the 3rd chapter, but I'm not. I'm going to stop. I'm not going to keep going, because I'm doing this and I'm investigating. I am using these books as research. I am trying to be able to formulate the plans in my mind of the techniques that authors are using, so that way not only can I better myself and be more critical and have that critical eye when I go back into edit, I'm stepping away from my work. I'm using a critical eye in someone else's work. So that way when I step back into mine, I can see whether or not, am I missing a plot point here? Am I missing something with character development? Am I doing the job I need to do to care for this book and to care for this character? Because I don't want to just rush through sloppy. I do want to honor the page, but I also want to try this technique where I'm researching novels within the genre as I go. And this is something new. And I love trying new things. I want to see if it does bring value to me and if I can become the teacher of this. So there was this really great article from Readsy. I bet you I'm not going to find it. Because I have been, I really love this article because it gives examples. I'm going to drop this article link down in the notes. This is one of their blog articles. And I think that you might find it interesting. So that way you can understand more about hooks and inciting incidents. Okay. And so I like the part, look, I'm not going to read this whole article because you guys can do that, but I love the examples. And so you can see an inciting incident in Harry Potter is when Hagrid announces to Harry that he's a wizard. And that's on page 39. And they say this is really the first inciting incident in their opinion. Everything else has been a build-up. Everything else has been framed to set the character and the reader up on this adventure of the wizarding world. And this is kind of that moment where the character goes through this revelation and this change. And so that's the first one. And it started on page 39. And think about everything that happened before then. You know, the letters, you know, the snake at the zoo, you know, everything else. Okay. And then look at this number 2. I love Narnia. So I love Harry Potter. So I love that they're using also examples, because when I read just these quotes from the book, just makes me happy. But I will tell you, when Lucy discovers Narnia, it happens on page 4. So that lets you know that comes a lot quicker than the middle grades Harry Potter. This one is children's lit and it comes quicker. Love it. Now Katniss comes on 22. And now Katniss in the Hunger Games series, you know, that was really written for YA. It's also middle grades. It's a crossover between those two. There's tons of middle grades that read the Hunger Games too. But I will tell the same way with Harry Potter, saying, hey, I'm reading as an adult. So when she volunteered as tribute to replace her sister, then that is her moment. And so a hook is completely different than an inciting incident. Okay. A hook is what is engaging your reader to turn the page. The inciting incident is your character's moment. I want you to kind of think of it like that. That helps me. I love this quote. I have not read this book, but on page 23, she wasn't on the water. She wasn't in the house. Amy was not there. Amy was gone. And so there we go. I am telling you, I don't know about this book, but from pages 1 to 22, you had some backstory, build up, framing of that house to do before you took that reader into the front door of the inciting incident. So I love that. I love those lines. And then Gatsby is 52. And they say that Gatsby is kind of like the anomaly, like they waited a long time with the Gatsby story to actually build up that inciting incident. And that's not rarely seen. Like it's usually seen in earlier. But I really like that article on Readsy. And it's like myth busting, but I like anything that I can see that's examples. And so today I want to share with you a couple of quotes, just because quotes matter so much to me. And I found 3, and I was looking up quotes from thriller authors because I wanted to start building some collections of these that I would be able to post that could really help for promotional materials too. Because guys, if you're out there and you are trying to build a connection with your audience, I think it's really good that you find people that write like you, because use quotes from them, because one, it can help motivate you and inspire you, but it could also connect you with readers. So that's what I was doing. But then I just found these 3 and I like them. And so I wanted to share with you. Of course, I love Stephen King. Good books don't give up all their secrets at once. That's why you need to look at story structures. Example, like what I showed you today, the 3-act story structure. You cannot give all their secrets at once. You've got to layer this stuff, and you can't do everything in the first chapter. And I think that can be a downfall for some authors, because they really want to give so much away that they don't trust their readers enough for them to fill it in. And if you're a thriller reader, and if you're like a crime reader, especially, you love the aspect of trying to solve it. So when I'm in the middle of my favorite TV shows, do you know what brings me great joy? Is that I, as the viewer, get enough tiniest little clues. There was a tiny word that was said yesterday, silence. Just one word choice in a long other stream of words. And I knew, and I'm not going to give this away, but I knew exactly what was in JJ's box. I knew it. I screamed it out too, because I like that. I told you that I'm the mentalist. That's the whole beauty of reading thriller and reading detective stories, is because you become a part of that team. It's like you are, driving the vehicle with them. It's like you're in the run chase with them. And so don't give it all away. Let things come naturally, but give them enough that they keep turning the page. So I know that sounds like just so mythological out there, but that's the best thing I can tell you with anything that you're writing. Even if it's sweet romance, you can't give the whole romance away at the very beginning. You got to build it. You've got to let that come with time. And so I got to make sure that I'm hooking my reader in, but I'm also letting my reader know what they're getting into. And because mine is going to be dark and twisted and gory, they need to know that from page 1. So I'm not going to call the author out, and I want to never do this. I don't want to call an author or a title out, but I want to give you an example of something that happened today. So I got on and I was looking inside books, because my son told me that he wants to make sure that my cover and my title set myself apart when people are going to my website or they're going to my author list, and they're able to tell kind of what the book is about right away. It's got to say serial killer inside blurb. It's got to really tell that this is, all about crime and all of that, the behind the scenes. Because he said, let the parent decide, let the child decide, let the adult decide, whoever falls onto your page. But you need to make it clear what your story is. So that's why I set up chapter 1 the way I did, because chapter 1 is maybe a little different than what I've read so far, and in my investigative journaling, whatever. So it's kind of a little different. However, if you read chapter 1, you're going to know right away what you're stepping into, and then I'm fine with that. And you can do the look inside. So I did a look inside today of a book, and there was an adult scene on like the 3rd page. And I was like, okay, close it up. I cut it X, because that's not something that I'm going to read. And that's not something that I would recommend to someone. And I found it and I was like, oh, wait, no. I want somebody, when they're looking into my first read, that first open, one, they're going to understand that this is about a serial killer case from the minute that they read the first line. And that this is kind of going to be almost to make you feel like it's a true crime, but it's not a true crime. So I wanted it to feel very casual, as if you are having a discussion over coffee with this cop, with this detective, and I wanted it to feel very natural. And so the language is that kind of relaxed tone. It's that personal tone. And so if you're opening the first page, the first look inside on Amazon, I think it's important that you do this work. You can go to so many books and do this work and check and see how first pages are done and first lines are done. I love the beauty of the first line. So if you guys want to share your first line, that would be awesome. We can share our first lines out. I'm going to go get my first line, and I'm going to share. And I just got it. I'm going to So here is my first line. From 2012 to 2019, 28 murders were attributed to the Sunday Killer. And so anybody that reads that knows what they're about to get into. Okay, they're going to get into the behind the scenes of the cases. And I let it be known in the first two paragraphs that you get like the insider look now. The case is closed, it's put away, and I've just got to get all of this out as the narrator because the detective is holding it all in and she can't. It's haunting her. So she has to tell the story to honor the victims, and she wants to say the victims' names, and she wants to have them have a place. And so each chapter is going to be about one of the victims. I make it clear that that's one of her motivations. And so we start with one of the later victims, and then we're going to move back because she comes into the case later. She comes at like murder 23. So when she's stepping in, there's already been 23 murders prior to her. And then she's saying, okay, here's the 23rd case. And then she's going to have to deal with 4 more murders. And so it's going to kind of be that kind of structure. That's what I'm going with right now. I know it can completely change. I haven't written any of this stuff down. Have no clue. But that in my mind, that's what's kind of working itself and putting kind of like point dots. I kind of got like a connect the dot thing going on in my mind. And I'm thinking that's what I want. I would do the first chapter. I would do the first chapter line. Let's share that first line, not the first paragraph, that first. Because I think I love looking at first lines. I can't wait to see your first line of your chapter. We did this in a writing group one time, and it was so much fun. And it was like, if you could write a new book, what would your first line be? And so if you haven't even started a story yet, give me just the first line. I stepped up to the foot of the rope ladder, not sure what to do. There you go. So you can see that your main character is conflicted, like right away. She's got something in front of her. She's got to make a choice. Is she going to turn back, or is she going to keep going? And so that's going to hook a person possibly in, because they are going to find out, hey, is this something, is this character somebody that I want to take this journey with? And so that's why that first chapter is important for your character development. And so that's what I'm going back now. Before my expert reads it, they said they were going to read it tonight after work. Yep, that fight or flight. So I've got a couple more hours before I get my beta reader to check the first chapter. I'm going to go back in, even though I'm almost finished with chapter 2. I'm going to go back into chapter 1 and just make sure that I've really, done a solid go at this character, Heather. I do like to mix it up with the dialogue. And so I've got to make sure that I can go back in and do some of that, because it was really her thoughts. And I realized, I'm not starting with the prologue. I'm going straight in. So I'm going to mix that up a little bit. I'm going to make it longer too. Yesterday, when I wrote chapter 1, of course, that's my first draft. It was 971. And you realize that is not long for a chapter, especially for New Age. So I've got to go in and I got to build that, but I got to get it out first. I've just got to honor whatever it is, and I got to keep typing. And so today it's that technique where I start with chapter 1 again and I'm reading, then I'm going into chapter 2 and I'm writing. And tomorrow I'm going to start with chapter 2, read it, edit it a little bit, and then move into chapter 3. So I'm excited to see where this book is going to go. I'm trying in my mind, do y'all remember those adventure series books when we were younger, where you would say, okay, turn to page 49 if you decide to open the door, and turn to page 26 if you decide to run down the steps. Like, I'm at that point in my mind. I'm turning these imaginary pages that haven't been written yet in my mind, going, well, could it be this? Or maybe she's that. And I'm like, hold on. I'm not doing like I did last summer. Last summer, I was writing like 7 chapters a day. I'm not doing that. I'm doing a 1 chapter a day. I'm trying something new. And I got to keep reminding myself the daily road trip. That's it, Anne. Yeah, because I am so like ready to just see the whole thing that I've got to enjoy this process and I've got to try this new way. I want to see what it's like. And I'm enjoying doing the reading and the investigation. And so I read some of the fiction books. Last night I read The Devil in the White City, which is nonfiction. And I'm going to tell you why I'm going to mix them. Because you might think, why are you mixing nonfiction serial killer books with fiction murder investigation books? There is a reason to that, because I want the style and the tone of my book to be more like you're reading this nonfiction, like you're actually in this story, as if you were like the one I'm reading last night. I'm going to give you the name of that one. I love it. Chase Darkness with Me. I love this book. In fact, I'm going to Chase Darkness with Me. How one true crime writer started solving murders. And he got, like, I'm on chapter 9 on this book. And I started it yesterday. I got to 9 chapters yesterday of this nonfiction book. And I was thinking, well, I could just read a bunch of nonfiction. It's so not, I don't have to do it like the 3 chapters like the fiction. And so that's how I've separated it in my brain. But I'm doing the 3 chapter read, up to 3 chapters if I like it, so far in all of these other books. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm kind of just getting little teasers in. So I'm not taking pictures and saying that I'm currently reading something unless I know I'm going to stick with it. Because I like to keep documentation of the books that I read each year. And then if I drop a book, I'm not going to do a book review on it. There's a reason why I dropped the book. It means that it had a pacing issue for me personally. Usually I tell people, I go, I'm just like a kid, and I'll go to the bottom and I'll see like how many pages. The hardcover has 336 pages of Chase Darkness with Me, but it's such a quick read. Billy Jensen does such a great job of this book. I really love it. He's a true crime journalist. And after 17 years of writing hundreds of stories with no endings, he was fed up, decided to try and solve the murders himself using radical social media techniques. And it worked. And it is a #1 bestseller. And it is a New York Times bestseller. And it gets #1 still. And it was published August 2019. And so, take my word for it, and the other tons of people. Oh yeah, Anne Rule. Oh yeah, I used her name. My niece has read every book that she's ever written. And I used her name in my book. And I gave her a shout out. So yeah, I've got her on my list too, Anne. So Anne Rule, the good thing about her books is that she also has them on Kindle Unlimited. So I am at my limit here. She's got Green River Killer too. I've got Green River in my book. And I mentioned Bundy in the book, who Anne Rule wrote about. And I mentioned the Silence of the Lambs author, because I love doing that, because I got that from Roald Dahl. And so you're thinking you're writing a thriller and you're getting inspiration from Roald Dahl? Yes. Roald Dahl inspires me to add in books like little breadcrumbs where people can go and look. Yeah, I'll read you the line I have about Ann Rule. I'm going to go down. It's in chapter 1. There are the Ann Rule and Thomas Harrises of the world, and I highly suggest you read them for a sick escape into the minds of darkness. But I feel so compelled to tell you this story that I must push aside my preliminary doubts of weakness in my writing ability. And so that's how she introduces that she recognizes she's not an Ann Rule. She's not a person who couldn't write Silence of the Lambs. She's her, and she has this weakness, but she's got to tell the story in her way, the way she processes the story. And so that's why chapter 2 has to start with a victim's family letter. So my aunt asked me not to change the POV. She told me that she would not read the book if I went the way I was planning. I was planning on doing the mind of the serial killer and then the mind of the detective unit. And my aunt said no. She's like, I can't read that. But I will read it if you tell it from the detective. And I said, that's exactly what I'll do. So at this point, I'm not going to change POVs to honor my aunt's request. Now, I have changed POVs in the past. I did that with a Magical Christmas Wedding, and I went between the love interest. I'm probably just going to self-publish, and you know that. Like, so for me, if that would be what people call in our industry writing to market. They'll say, well, you need to write to market and you need to do what the market expects. And so for me, I'm just going to honor the voice that showed up. And it's just Heather right now. Yeah, I've done the changing of the POVs in the past. And this one's first person as well. Now, the books that I have all investigated, they are not first person. So there again, I'm going to kind of against the grain a little bit too. But she started first person. And so you're getting first person in this one. And then she'll go back and she'll tell the things, the memories and the dialogue, and she'll talk through it all in her mind as it played out. So yeah, I'm kind of not writing to market when it comes to POV and when it comes to multiple storytelling techniques. So we'll see. Like I said, it might not work. I know I put it up in the WWJs yesterday for our Patreon group, and Tish read it and she loved it. She read chapter 1 and she said that it was intriguing. It got her wanting to read more, and she's a mystery reader. So, and she loves detective stories. And so that's my readers. Like, I want readers who love detective stories, who love crime scene investigation TV shows. I want to hook those people in. And so that's where my betas are going to fall heavily. Might not necessarily be my sweet romance betas. So I'm reaching out to a different set of beta readers right now, which is going to be interesting because 2 of them have never read my work before. So that's going to be something cool to see how that progresses. Because I don't want to sink the ship. I want to get it to where I'm hooking people in. And so that's where my question is. Are you hooked? And do you like my character enough to stick around and stay till the end of the show? So that's what I'm trying to do from chapter 1. And I hope it's working. So we'll see. I'll get more information tonight. I've had 2 reads so far. This expert read tonight is going to be cool just to see. I know they're going to do it. They've already said it. And they're the type of person that if they say something, they're doing it and they're going to respond. So I might have an, oh, I got a lot to work on tomorrow. Or, oh, this is a good start. So we'll see. And I've got to recognize again and remind myself, this is just round one. This is just my first draft. Now, I'm not going to switch POVs. I'm not doing all that later. Whatever happens in chapter 2 is pretty much letting me know that I'm going to stay with this format. So I've got to build up to get to my inciting incident. I have not got to my inciting incident yet, and I have written 6 pages so far. So it's got to come within the next. So an inciting incident like really needs to come for me between 20 and 30 pages. Because I don't want to do a very slow build to where I've got to wait. I would prefer it to come within the first 10 pages. And again, Anne, like you said about shopping the book around, if you shop the book around, most agents are going to ask for either the first page or the first 10 pages of a manuscript. And so if you can somehow squeeze that inciting incident in there between pages 1 through 4, without getting too quick into the action, but actually build it a little bit, and you can get it before like page 10, maybe that could benefit you with the giving that agent that first inciting incident moment. But I'm going to honor the page and just see where it takes me. Well, all right, guys, we've had an hour and 5 minutes. We've talked hooks. Hooks are different than inciting incidents. You can go and research more about those. You can look at that 3-act structure and kind of see where you're working at right now. And if you've never started a novel before, some of those templates might be a great help to you. I want to go back before I close and look at one of these. Victoria Schwab, she writes YA, but she said overnight success is almost always a myth. Half of this industry is luck and half is the refusal to quit. So how much do you want something? Don't quit on your idea. Your idea just might need to be firmly developed. It might need to morph into a new idea. Whatever it is, don't quit on your writing. And so I love that one. And I like this one. I love cop shows and crime books and thrillers. And before I die, I'm going to play a cop. And I'm like, that is hilarious. Like here I am, playing cop with my new Heather Moody, my new detective series. So I like looking at these kind of quotes, but they kind of just bring a smile to my face. So that's something that I like to do, is check quotes. And then you can share these quotes out with your people. So look for some really good quotes. Another thing that I just want to leave you with too is, other than the quotes and getting all your book lists together, you see I've got a ton. I've got Kindle Unlimited is already packed. And I've got 2 hours, 27 minutes left to read. That's one good thing about Kindle. How much do I have to read? In The Negotiator, I've got into, oh no, I'm way farther than that. I went back to read that for you guys. Let's see how far I got in this one. Yep, I finished chapter 1 in this one. So, love it. And so it's a quick read, 2 hours. Yeah, but I don't want to do it all today. I'm trying to do my read chapters chapters 1 through 3 before you keep, getting too far. Because I'm trying to be able to say, this is the inciting incident. what is this? And in this book, and they switch from right in the middle of the chapter, it goes from the male FBI point of view to the female negotiator. So you'll see that they do that. So yeah, I'm sure that's probably very common. And then I made my playlist on YouTube, and I do it for every single book, and it is an unlisted playlist. It is unlisted because this is my research playlist. I didn't think this one, oh, hey, Tish. I didn't think this, we're talking about switching out POVs and thrillers and how I'm not going to do it and I'm not writing it to market. That writing to market means that there's pretty much the industry standard to this and do this, and that's the appeal, and that's what can really push you. But I'm just honoring this page, and I've just got this first person POV right now going on, and I'm going to stick with that. But I didn't think it was confusing. I personally, when I have to read a book and it has like 6 POV switches, yeah, I love first person POV too. I do. And I have, I've written in third person, but I really love the first person. It's so personal. And this is her personal story. This is her trying to get this serial killer out of her head. And I don't know, it just seems to work. I don't know, Tish. I was telling Ann that you read the first chapter, and I'm going back in and I'm going to add some dialogue, because remember yesterday it was only 900 words. It was my first round. Yeah, I think so too, Ann. I think so too, Tish. So I know you read my first chapter. I posted it up on the WWJ's site too. So Tish, you loved it, and now I'm going in because it is short. It was only 900 words, and I went in today and I've started editing it a little bit, and I'm going to add in some of the dialogue that was missing, that was not there. So I'm trying to see kind of where I can put that where it doesn't throw things away. So I didn't tell a lot more about her. Like, I'd been a detective for 8 years. And on my anniversary date of my swearing in, I got the call to head upstairs to meet the captain. It was unannounced and very unexpected. My team and I were currently about to close in on a huge drug raid. We just discovered the gang had a hostage, some big political connections. So I figured it was one of those speeches to how I couldn't mess this one up and everything was riding on the release. But instead, I walked to his office to run into him right at the door, holding 2 large boxes. He said, "Heather, here's the files. Take them." Confused, I looked down at the name. And then that's when she's going to get and take over the case of the Sunday killer. And so I didn't tell any of that. I kind of didn't hint around to how long she had been a detective or what other case she had worked on. And so I realized that after I had done tons of first chapter readings. And I told you guys about the trick about going in and looking at chapter 1s in the look insides on Amazon. Just spending times previewing chapter 1s can really give you a lot of insight. And I was like, you know what? I got to have some kind of dialogue in here, and it needs to be with her and the captain. And so that's what I ended up doing. And so she's going to be moved from the 2nd floor to the 3rd floor. And so she's about to walk in not only with this new case, she's got to have to meet a new group of people to work with. And so I have to set all of that up now because it wasn't there yesterday. And I need to do it before my expert gets hold of it tonight. So I'm doing that today before they get to read it. But I'm glad that you loved it, because that's what your genre is. You love reading mysteries. You love watching crime shows. That's who I'm looking for to beta. I'm looking for crime show people. and then cops. So, but that's it for today, guys. We've had an hour and 12 minutes. We did. Oh, Tish, that's the beauty of beta. That's the beauty of Google Docs. So you get to see like all the changes in real time with me when I'm writing. Like I've gone through half of chapter 2 today, and then my headache was just pounding a little bit and I had to walk away from it. So I've already written, I started off chapter 2 with a letter from one of the victims' families. I'm going to start each chapter like with some kind of things like that make it a little different. I have not seen that when I've been doing my reviews. So mine's kind of going to be a little unique. I'm just warning you ahead of time. Oh, wow. Uh-oh. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, did y'all just hear that thing? Did y'all hear it? I just got an email. A lovely email. Ah. Thank you, thank you. I got a beautiful writing contract for like a freelance. Oh, I'm holding it in my hand. Love it. That was unexpected. I know. I'll tell you guys about it on Saturday. Yeah, super. It's exciting. I worked on it some last summer too. So here I go. That's awesome too. I was not expecting it. I know, Anne, I was not expecting. I haven't heard since. Ooh. Hold on. Oh. And I'm telling you, this one is like high pressure because you're only as good as that writing. And so it is clearly stated that if your writing is not up to the standard, then you don't get the next contract. And no offense. It's like, no offense. However, so it's like pressure. I know what I'm doing tomorrow. I'm not doing that today because my head, I'm excited about that. Those 2 emails, you heard those dings. I'm excited about it, but I'm going to do like 100% of that tomorrow. I'm going to get it done. I'm going to be the first one in on that. And I'm going to finish up chapter 2 though, because that beta read tonight is very important. It's going to let me know, Tish, too, what I need to do. And that's why getting expert readers at the beginning of your work can be a good strategy. Not everybody does this. Not everybody beta reads as they go. They usually wait. They usually wait until they finish the book, until they get an editor. They do the editing, and then they beta read. Or some people finish the book, they beta read, they fix a lot of things before they give it to the editor. But I beta read chapters out. And that's why I like giving it on a Google Doc, because that way people can decide how much they want to read. If they want to read the whole thing, they can. If they want to just read the first 10 pages or the first chapter, they can. Or the first page, they can. And so it's there for them, and they can read it in real time. So you can let me know what you think, Tish. And you can make comments. I've made it to where people can edit right there. Did you get to hear what my aunt said, Tish? I don't know if you were here. If you might have been talking to hubby. And I'll read it again. So, yes, Aunt Dot. Okay, so I told it. So Aunt Dot read it yesterday. She's my point of contact with my betas. She reads everything in real time with me as I go. That's another reason why I do it, because my aunt doesn't wait. My aunt goes with me on this journey. So I put, when you read it later, let me know what her first name is. I'll let you choose the main character's name. What pops into your head? she's a young detective. And then she wanted to know what part of the country. And I said in North Carolina, near Asheville. Oh, I love my Aunt Dot. So she read it, and at 9:30, I'm going to read you her response. The first name that popped was Heather. So we now have our main character's name. That's her name. I do like the storyline. Doesn't it scare you to write it? Which, yeah. So now my aunt's like, are you scared? So that lets me know that I must have done something there to put this creepiness there. Right. And so you've got this sweet, religious detective dealing with the harsh realities of the life of being a serial killer. Yeah, it's going to be tough for her. She also asked me, does it scare you to write it? Which I take that meant it was a little like disturbing to read. Which for a thriller about a serial killer, you don't want it to be smelling roses. You want it to be disturbing to read. That's the point. You want to have that little sense of fear. Tish, did you get that? Did you get like this foreboding feeling? What? Ask me what? About the mindset of the writing? It scared you, the first chapter? Gosh, you can't read the Heartwood Chronicles, Tish. I don't know if you want to read about demon possession. And then she said she likes the cover. She likes the cover the best with just a tree. So it's just a tree. The cover is picked. It's already done. She likes one Solomon and y'all picked. It can't. It's your sweet demeanor, but your mind. You can't think of a word. It's okay. So you guys know that I tell y'all things about myself, that things that I personally love. Yeah, thanks, Tish. But since I was really young, I was like getting horror. When I would go up to the movie store, my mom did not have any parental shield over me. She would pretty much let me get anything from the movie store. And I would go and get, I can still remember it to this day, like VHS tapes that had like microwaves and body parts on it, like coming all out of it. Like these cheesiest, scary movies. And I tell you, I probably watched every scary movie in that whole place. Always been a fan of the horror genre. So serial killers, is just a natural part of that. No, I don't have nightmare. And I had a nightmare today when I went to sleep, but it was an argument. I had an argument in a nightmare, and it's not really, I don't know if you could call that a nightmare, but my head was all hurting and it was all jumbled up, and I laughed about it. I laughed about it afterwards because I was having an argument, and I don't have arguments. It was just, that's a nightmare, I guess. I don't know. But I've always, like, when I was 12, I can remember The Night of Living Dead. Oh, yeah. So you were 2, you were 6, though. You were, like, I can remember when I was, 13 years old, the summer of my 8th grade year, I was reading The Stand by Stephen King on my front porch. I was a huge Stephen King reader at 12 and 13 years old. I couldn't get enough. I was reading his books like crazy. My niece has collected she has a copy of every single King book made. She has a whole library in her house. It is a beautiful room. One day I hope to have a library. My niece has a library in her house. She has a book room, and she has an entire bookcase for Stephen King. But yeah, like I have always navigated that. When I went to Canada my summer of my 8th grade year, my parents, the thing I remember about that trip is that I got the Exorcist book by William Beatty, and I got Helter Skelter, the book on Charles Manson. And then that's when I became interested in religious cults. And so you tell me there's a documentary going on about serial killers, I'm watching it. Or if there's a documentary about religious cults, I'm there. So the religious cult thing, and I already have my cult for this book. Last year I tried that cult book and deleted it. This year I'm not deleting this. And I already know, I've already ran the idea by the ID. Yeah, I don't have cable now, but I used to watch ID. I watch all those serial killer documentaries on YouTube. They have Born to Kill is my favorite. I've watched every single episode of Born to Kill. You like Born to Kill, Tish? That's my favorite. I want to meet those investigators. I'm actually going to email the cast for Born to Kill, and I'm going to see if I can. Do you know the guy with like the really long like mustache? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I'm actually going to email those guys. Yes, that dude. He's always with like NYU. Like it's like I know he's like a professor. I'm gonna like Google this man. I'm gonna like look. I'm writing a serial killer book. I want you to be my expert. He's either going to laugh at my email and say, I get 1 million of these requests a year, or he's going to say, oh, I'm ready for some light reading. And I'm going to see, hey, you know me, I'm not afraid to ask anybody to be an expert. I am going for the experts. And you guys could consider doing stuff like that too. Because if you actually get an expert to say yes, imagine that review line that they could give you that you could put on the cover of your book. It can't hurt. Exactly, Tish. So yeah, I've already thought of my Born to Kill people. Amen. Jesus said it, ask and you shall receive. And if it's meant to be, the door will open. And if it's not meant to be, it ain't happening. And I'm good with it either way. Then I have a story to tell you guys. Do y'all know that time when I emailed Lauren Daigle and them and they said $0? I would have never had that story to tell you guys. She doesn't work for $0. I'm like, okay, signal message received. Okay, have a great day. But so hey, I'm not shy. Getting expert authors, getting criminal investigators, so like for example, mine is a detective working on a serial killer case. I would love to have a criminal profiler, that was like some of my favorites to watch from Born to Kill. And there's a few on there. I'm going to email the cast of Born to Kill. And the easy way to do it is just go to IMDb. But you find out what your genre is. And then you go for because, I mean, I'm not literary agent. My actual agent, my publishing company's already asked us, we've got to go out and get these author statements. So might as well start with it with my own books. So I'm going to see if I can find these people. And I'm going to message them. Oh, there they go. Forensic psychologist. Ha, ha, ha. And see if I can find where they work. You can, maybe not. They might not be, but if they're yes, I knew he was a professor. I told you. I could tell. He's a professor of forensic psychology. I knew it. Hey, I emailed one of the greatest professors of all time, I emailed, and he pretty much engineered the whole positive psychology field. Not only was he a sweetheart and messaged me back, but hooked me up with other psychologists, and I got opportunities to use their actual work in my dissertation with full endorsement. So I have no doubt that I want to connect with some forensic psychologists. And I would rather go with forensic psychologists, experts in the field, not necessarily crime scene authors, because, well, she's not being marketed as Christian fiction. Sweet Potato is not. She's YA contemporary fiction. She does not have a Christian fiction tag. She goes into some deep themes in her book that is not Christian fiction. So it wouldn't match for going Christian fiction on that one. So for the endorsements for like this book, definitely going ahead and looking ahead of the scene. So I've got that in my mind. It's going to be fun regardless. I'm going to have fun doing it. And I'll get to say, love your show. Watched every episode of you. I think you are awesome. Got this book. Would you read it? And you can give me a 1 or 2 sentence blurb if you like it. And if you think that I'm way off, scream to me, you're way off, lady. Back off from this. And I'll say, thank you for your advice. And then I'll do a lot more research. So, and it never hurts. But yeah, I'm doing it. Not now. It's too early. But I am having an expert who is a friend of mine going through it, who is going to start tonight. So they're going to do like Aunt Dot. And they want to read as they go. And I think if I say to beta readers, would you like to read a chapter? That's easy. I'm not asking them to read 35,000 pages. I'm saying, you want to read a chapter? And hey, I'm reading a chapter a day. I'm writing a chapter a day. You can join me on this journey if you want to just beta a chapter a day with me. Come on. That'll give them like a little short in and out every day. And so I think that helps me with my beta people. And it helps me along the way, because if I'm messing up, Tish, you got to tell me if I'm messing up. Since you just volunteered and said, hey, I want to read this with you, you got to say, no, Jen, maybe you need to consider this or question this, or maybe take this out, or this is boring. Whatever it is. So I know I love trying new things. So my new strategy so far is to write a chapter a day, to read while I write, and only read like a chapter to 3 chapters a day. So that way I can go into multiple books and span across multiple books in the genre at one time, read it in an investigative way. So I'm only dipping in and reading 1 chapter of this book, and then I read 1 chapter of that book. Now, I did break the law, and I read 9 chapters of that nonfiction book yesterday that I'm reading, called Chase Darkness with Me. So I did get into chapter 9. The Villain with 1,000 Faces is the name of chapter 9. So I'm going to be reading a true crime along with fiction, because I want this book to feel like a true crime story. I want people to say, wait, is this real? Is Sunny Killer real? Is this real thing? Because this feels so real. And I think that's a good way for me to do it, especially when I'm taking this POV narrative voice. I gotta remove myself out of that and put her in it. So I think the true crime is going to help me a lot. And then I'm going to, of course, reread Silence of the Lambs and stuff like that too. You're in a Facebook group, True Crime? Oh, thank you, Tish. The answer is yes. The answer is yes, please. So, all right, guys, I'm closing it out. We are taking that Elder Scrolls. Yeah, I like Sirius. Yeah, I'm in it to win it. I might get a beta reader or two out of there. I might just kind of lay low and check it out for a little bit, though. We're doing the Elder Scrolls cookbook tonight. I told you guys I love that cookbook. We are making homemade baked potato soup, and I really love Jersey Mike's, like adore Jersey Mike's. But because we have such a large family, when we go to Jersey Mike's, it's like, oh gosh, that's so cool. That's cool, Tish. Jersey Mike's costs a lot with us because we have such a large family, and we can't get like the little small, like, y'all, my husband gets like the biggest sub. It's almost like a party sub from there. Like, what? So I am trying to recreate the Jersey Mike's feel. We're doing like cold cut subs. We're gonna have all that tonight with homemade baked potato soup. So I'll let you know if that is a good recipe to try tomorrow, and I will tell you how that goes. Never tried homemade baked potato soup before, so this is going to be a new one, and the boys are helping me cook tonight. So we are all here, and we are going to the kitchen. So pray for me that this headache just goes away completely, and I'm able to get back into the Sunday Killer and get to work. Thanks, Ann. I'm glad you guys hung out with me today. And I love y'all. And if you're new and you're checking this out for the first time, I want to welcome you to future episodes with us every day at 3 o'clock. You can join here at the show where I'm talking writing. I give you strategies, resources, links, tutorials, and talk with you about the process. And hey, you can write along with me. Ann was writing along while I was talking. So I hope you guys have a blessed one. Bye, guys.